there, fantasy owners. Welcome to LTC Fantasy here. Not sure if you're chiming in via YouTube or listening via podcast, but do appreciate the watch or listen nonetheless. And we're going to continue along with our team reviews. Today we're going to look at the Pittsburgh Penguins, and according to the depth chart on dailyfaceoff.com, really do find them to be the most accurate, especially during the regular season there. Take a look at their goaltending tandem, defensive pairings, their forward lines, mention who's on the different special teams unit to really help you try and determine their fantasy value for your upcoming drafts and hopefully give you a strong roster right out of the gate there. So we'll look at the goaltending tandem. It's exactly the same as last year. Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith. Now Jarry is 27 years old. Last year he got into 58 games played, so played quite a bit. 34, 18, and 6, so had a nice win total there. Had 4 shutouts, a 2.42 goals against average, and a .919 save percentage. DeSmith, he's 31 years old. He got into 26 games last year. He had 11 wins, 6 losses, and 5 overtime losses. He had 3 shutouts, a 2.79 goals against average, and a .914 save percentage. Nice numbers for a backup. Jarry will carry the load again this year as expected, so he'll be a good fantasy goalie to have on your roster. Pittsburgh shouldn't fall off much, if any at all. DeSmith, he had decent numbers for a backup, so if you use that rotating goalie strategy, it'd be somebody to pick up on an off night where he is starting there for you. There's a little bit of fantasy value there. But realistically, for rostering for the whole season, Jarry's obviously the guy because he plays a ton there. Moving along to defensemen, their top pairing is Brian Dumoulin and Chris Letang. They re-signed Letang, which is good. Dumoulin, he should be on the top PK unit. He's 30 years old. Last year got into 76 games played. He had 3 goals, 15 assists for 18 points, 88 hits, 139 blocks, and 91 shots on goal. Those numbers don't scream fantasy value. He's really good, steady Eddie defenseman there, so he's nice to have on your team, just not necessarily on your fantasy roster because he doesn't bring a lot of value in most fantasy formats there. Letang, on the other hand, he should be on the top power play unit and second PK unit. He's 35 years old. As a 34-year-old, he had a really good season. Got into 78 games. He had 10 goals, 58 assists for 68 points. So really, really nice point total there. 22 power play points. He had 171 hits, 122 blocks, and 214 shots on goal. He's going to put up good numbers again this year. He has even well into his mid-30s now. He's showing that he can still produce. So I'd be drafting him. Well, he will be drafted. It's just a matter of if you pick him at the right time. Obviously, Letang's a great defenseman fantasy-wise for you, and you won't really harm. He stays healthy, does well. Nothing wrong there. Definitely take him if you have the chance there. Second pairing should be Marcus Pettersson and Jeff Petrie. Now, Pettersson, he's 26 years old. Last year got into 72 games played. He had 2 goals, 17 assists for 19 points. It's not great production. 122 hits, 74 blocks, and 83 shots on goal. Realistically, his numbers fantasy-wise are very similar to Dumoulin. He's probably a great defenseman to have on your team, just not on your fantasy roster. He doesn't bring a lot of value in a lot of formats there, so I'd obviously be passing on him. Petrie, he should be on the second PK unit. He's 34 years old. He got into 68 games last year, had 6 goals, 21 assists for 27 points. His numbers are low considering what he's done the last couple of years previous to that. So will he rebound in Pittsburgh? He's a lot stronger cast up front than he did in Montreal the last couple of years. Mind you, Montreal's improved on their forward lines, but when Petrie was there, it wasn't necessarily the strongest. 3 power play points, 140 hits, 117 blocks, and 124 shots on goal. He's probably a good depth defenseman in deep leagues. You might be able to, even in lighter leagues, you might even get past this year, and you might be able to pick him up on waivers if he does really strong out of the gate there. I still believe there is some fantasy value in him. It just depends how deep your league is and whether you can take the chance on passing on him and picking him up early. That'd be best case scenario. If it is a deeper league, don't be too gun shy on taking a flyer on him in the later rounds there. Third pairing should be Ty Smith and Jan Ruda. Now Smith, he should be on the second power play unit. He's only 22 years old. Last year got into 66 games played, had 5 goals, 15 assists for 20 points, 4 power play points, 45 hits, 73 blocks, and 77 shots on goal. Smith, he's a young defenseman, has a lot of talent there, gets a little bit of power play time. Is he fantasy relevant? He will be. He definitely will be. But I don't know how much fantasy value there will be this year. Maybe going a little bit later in the season if he does move up and gets his minutes up. Just with third pairing minutes and only second unit power play time, not top unit power play time, I'm leaving him alone. But it might bite me if I don't grab him early enough. I will be watching him to see if that improves, and there might be some fantasy value there. If you're in a deep league, like one of the leagues that I went in, the guy already picked him up as a depth move, definitely might be worthwhile and might pay you dividends if you do that early enough. Me, I'm just a little bit more conservative, so I'm leaving him off my roster until I get a chance there. Jan Ruda, he should be on the top PK unit. He's 32 years old. Last year got into 76 games. He had 3 goals, 15 assists for 18 points, 93 hits, 71 blocks, and 86 shots on goal. Realistically, you're leaving Ruda alone. There's not a lot of fantasy value there. He will be a good third pairing guy in Pittsburgh, just not good for your fantasy roster, really on any kind of format, similar to Dumoulin and Pettersson. Going up front, their top line should be Jake Getzel, Sidney Crosby, and Rickard Rakell. Now Getzel, he should be on the top power play unit, 27 years old. Really good season last year. No reason why he won't be fantasy relevant this year. So definitely draft him. You're probably going to get him in earlier to early mid rounds, I should think there. 76 games played. He had 40 goals, 44 assists for 84 points. So over that point per game. Really nice production there. 22 of those points were on the power play. He had 72 hits, 38 blocks, and 264 shots on goal. And we all know Crosby. He should be on the top power play unit. He's 35 years old now, but one of the best in the world still produces well. 69 games played. He had 31 goals, 53 assists for 84 points. He would have been really high 90s if he did play the full season there. 30 power play points, 50 hits, 37 blocks, 208 shots on goal. Crosby, can't say enough about him. Yes, he will be drafted. Yes, he will have fantasy value. And draft him if you get a chance to. Now, Rakell, it'll be his first full season in Pittsburgh. Came over to Pittsburgh after the trade deadline there. Should be on the second power play unit. 29 years old. Got into 70 games last year, had 20 goals, 21 assists for 41 points. Was really close to a point per game player when he came over to Pittsburgh. So definitely see these numbers increasing there. I do think he'll be undervalued based on last year's production as a whole. So he will be kind of a sneaky pick for you, especially if he stays on that top line with Getzel and Crosby all year. 21 power play points. 99 hits, 44 blocks, and 184 shots on goal. Second line right now is Jason Zucker, Evgeny Malkin, and Brian Rust. Now Zucker, he should be on the second power play unit. He's 30 years old now. He's been really injury plagued since he came over from Minnesota there. 41 games played. He had 8 goals, 9 assists for 17 points. So pretty ugly production. Hopefully he's rebounds this year and has a healthy year. 2 power play points, 66 hits, 20 blocks, 102 shots on goal. Based on those numbers from last year, he doesn't show a lot of fantasy relevance. Just when he did come over at the deadline that one year, He really gelled in Pittsburgh, had a really good season, had a couple injury-riddled the last couple of years. So in a deep league, I might take him really late to see if he rebounds and has a healthy season. If it's not really a deep league, I'm leaving him the F alone really until he shows me that he can stay healthy and produce on a regular basis there. Malkin, he should be on the top power play unit. As always, 36 years old. Of course, he's fantasy relevant. Last year, 41 games played. 41 games, he was still a 20-goal man. 20 goals, 22 assists for 42 points. So just over a point per game. No reason why he shouldn't do that this year. 20 power play points, 21 hits, 18 blocks, and 129 shots on goal. Last one's Brian Rust. He should be on the top power play unit, second penalty kill unit. He's 30 years old. Last year got into 60 games. He had 24 goals, 34 assists for 58 points. So nice production there. 21 power play points, 43 hits, 24 blocks. So not going to wow you in those departments, but doesn't necessarily hurt you. 180 shots on goal. Rust, of course, will be fantasy relevant, as will Malkin on this line, so they will get drafted. Just not sure if you're going to draft Rust or Malkin too early there, but definitely mid-round picks. They'd be great pickups for you. The third line is Brock McGinn, Jeff Carter, and Kasperi Kapanen. Now, McGinn, he should be on the top PK unit. He's 28 years old. Last year got into 64 games. He had 12 goals, 10 assists for 22 points. Had 94 hits, 50 blocks, and 99 shots on goal. Not a whole bunch of fantasy value there. If you're in one that counts hits fairly heavily, gives you nice production there. Because he does average to be about a 30-point guy. There might be a little bit of fantasy value for you depending. But in standard scoring leagues, you're going to leave him alone, to be honest. Jeff Carter, he should be on the second power play unit and second PK unit. He's 37 years old now. Last year got into 76 games. He had 19 goals, 26 assists for 45 points. So really nice production for a guy that played most of the year on the third line. Does get some power play time, so he does have a little bit of value. Still a little bit left in the tank there. 6 power play points through 99 hits, so not bad hit total. 50 blocks and 200 shots on goal. I'm thinking of him more as a streaming option than a drafting option based on how many players are drafted normally in Yahoo leagues or ESPN leagues. But if it's a deeper league, I would be taking him in the later rounds for sure there. And the last one's Kasperi Kapanen. He should be on the second power play unit. He's 26 years old. Last year, 79 games played. He had 11 goals, 21 assists for 32 points. So low for Kapanen. He should produce more. That's probably why he's being shown on the third line right now. Depends what happens with Zucker. He could move up and play the off wing there, or Russ could play the off wing and him play the right side like he should. 5 power play points, 110 hits, 19 blocks, and 129 shots on goal. Probably leaving him, keep watching him to see if he does start to produce and maybe pick him up if he does move into the top 6. Other than that, I'm leaving him alone. Unless you're in a really deep league, of course, I keep mentioning deep leagues. But if you're in a deeper league, he is an option for you there. The fourth line is Ryan Poehling, Teddy Blueger, and Josh Archibald. Now, Poehling, he's 23 years old. Last year got into 57 games. He had 9 goals, 8 assists for 17 points. It's not great production. 2 power play points, 40 hits, 28 blocks, and 91 shots on goal. This is a guy that's more than likely going to get passed up in drafts. Him only being 23 years old, though, do watch him, because when he played the one game 2 years ago, he had a hat trick, and then his production kind of fell off a bit from there, obviously. You're not going to score 3 goals a game, but there is some offense hidden in there. Just see if it comes out before you waste a waiver claim on him. Now, Blueger, he should be on the top PK unit. He's 28 years old. Last year got into 65 games. He had 9 goals, 19 assists for 28 points. 87 hits, 32 blocks, and 93 shots on goal. Again, there not a lot of fantasy relevance. He's going to be passed over in most formats, and I'd expect the same in your guys' drafts. Archibald, he's 29 years old. Last year only got into 8 games played with the complications with COVID and then not getting vaccinated, etc. Now it's not an option. Now that's not as big of an issue since he's south of the border there. But no goals, 1 assist for 1 point, 27 hits, 2 blocks, and 4 shots on goal. Not any fantasy relevance there, so he's not going to be taken in any drafts when we go through their roster anyways there. Do hope you do enjoy today's episode. After we finish these team reviews, we'll be getting into our draft strategy episode, also our rankings for goalies, defensemen, and forwards. Really trying to prep you and help you out with your upcoming drafts. During the regular season, we have 3 episodes that come out every week looking at different players to help strengthen those rosters and solidify them and hopefully get you those wins or move you up in the standings in your league there. If you're watching via YouTube, remember to hit like, hit subscribe, remember that notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any episodes, or you can go back and look at some previous previews there. Same thing if you're listening via podcast. Remember to hit that heart, hit follow, depending what kind of format you're listening on there, for the exact same reasons. Again, really do hope you enjoyed today's episode. Good luck in your upcoming drafts and enjoy your fantasy league there, fantasy owners.